Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MotUS Edge podcast. I am Stacy Rowe, here today with Casey Jones and our guest, Nelson De Dios. How are you,
Hello,
Nelson?
Everybody. I am doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, Nelson.
We are excited to have you here. So you are in California, right?
I am California right now, enjoying the weather.
I was going to say beautiful Cali weather.
Mm-hmm.
It's early for you.
It's not burning, I guess we could say.
You had to get up early for this.
It's early, but the sun's out right now, and it looks beautiful out. And I'm enjoying the cooler weather right now until we are out in Florida for about 2 weeks, stuck in Disneyland jail.
I'll be there with you.
Yeah, I spent 2 weeks in Florida just recently for Disneyland jail, and it's good times. It's good times. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background, Nelson. You are a coach and brand director at OC All Stars. Is that correct?
Yes. Currently, I'm a coach, brand in charge of the brand for the OC All Stars program, as well as kind of quality control for our All-Star program, since we have 2 different locations. So I have the opportunity to work with every single elite team and kind of keep all of our staff on the same page and represent the OC All-Stars brand.
So what exactly what does that entail? You know, the brand management.
A lot of it is the marketing for our All-Star program. So I run all of our social medias. And it's also making sure the way our brand is represented correctly, whether that's through our social media, whether it's through our apparel, the way that our teams look, anything that encompasses the OC All-Stars brand is basically what I'm in charge of.
Man, I know just how hard that job is. I know with Stingrays, we have many people that like to do their own interpretation of the brand, but as we often say, Nike never changes that swoosh. It's always the same. It always looks the same. You can recognize it anywhere in the world. So, we try to do the same thing with our brand. But it's tough. It's hard. You really got to spend a lot of time with it.
Yeah, I totally.
I'm sorry,
I was just going to say, I get it too. We go through it all the time with Premiere as well. Go ahead, Nelson.
Yeah, sorry. Some years ago, I want to say 15, 20 some odd years ago, I went to a coaches conference where you and Roger were speaking. And I don't remember if it was you or Roger, but one of you guys were really harping on the brand, on the Stingrays brand. And so that message just really stuck with me.
That's pretty cool that somebody actually listened. Sometimes we're up there talking and are we so boring? Is anybody even listening? But yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, honestly, it really came from Roger. That was something that was huge for him, that what we created was something that could be lasting. And we realized for it to last, that we had to stay consistent with it. And we've taken that even to smaller levels with some of our teams. Because if it were up to many of our coaches, they would rebrand their team every year with a new name and a new logo and a new look. And we have to explain to them that's not what builds long-term continuity within a brand. So it's been an interesting ride. And oftentimes you have to educate the folks on that and kind of give them the why so that they understand, because people love something new. But like, as I said, as these brands that are worldwide brands that people recognize all over the world, McDonald's isn't changing the golden arches. Looks the same every year. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and I am a stickler too for fonts even. It's like McDonald's isn't changing the golden arches, but they're not changing the McDonald's either. Like, it's the same font all the time. And, you need to stick with that. And I'm sorry that you didn't get to choose it, but this is what it is. Mm-hmm. You don't have a brand if you don't follow those guidelines. So that's cool. So I didn't realize that's that's part of what you did. So that's awesome. I mean, I know what branding is, but until we met, I didn't know that's what you did. So are you still coaching day to day?
I am still coaching day to day. And I work with, we have, I think, 18 elite teams. So I get to work with each team maybe once every other week. So I'm not directly coaching the same team every week.
I got you.
And I get the opportunity to see I think we have 250 elite kids. I get the opportunity to see and coach all 250 elite kids throughout the month.
That's pretty cool.
Do you know all 250 of their names?
I am very, very close. I know every single face now, but it was my goal to learn every single name, and I got really, really close.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, hopefully next year you'll have 500 kids, and
that's the goal.
And it'll even be that much harder for you to remember all their names. But so where does your background? Like, did you go to school, and what did you go to school for?
Man, I went to college for a month. When I first got out of high school, I worked right away with USA, United Spirit Association, started teaching summer camps. And that's actually where I met John Neville, who's the owner of OC All-Stars. And I started coaching very soon after. And I caught on with a guy named Mortenberg and Danny Kahn.
Yeah.
And I know they're very well known in the industry, and cheered for them for a little bit. And then one day they approached me and said, hey, we want to expand what we're doing here. They had a gym called Pyramids, and they wanted to expand, and they wanted to open up 2 more locations. So that's the beginning of what's now called CheerGyms.com. And they asked me to run a location for them out in San Jose. And that's kind of how I got started in the all-star industry. And this was 25-ish years ago now. So that's how I got started there. And right then, I knew that being in this industry was what I wanted to do. And back then, I didn't know if college was going to help me with that path. So I decided I'm just going to stay on this path right now and see where this all-star industry takes me. So years later, having been through CheerGyms.com, I went through a stint with OC All-Stars. Then I had an opportunity to be a gym owner myself. I did that for 4 years, eventually sold that gym to OC All-Stars, which is now their second location. And have been back with OC for, I think I'm going on my 8th year right now.
Awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, man, this sport just grabs us. It's I call it passion work. You know, we get in there, and even if it isn't our lifelong plan, then it quickly turns into that. And, you know, much like yourself, like I didn't get involved in cheerleading until college. And, but man, I was stuck, you know, I couldn't move on from it. And I really wasn't trying to move on from it, but, you know, I quickly realized that it was something that I wanted to do. And when I started, it was really hard to make it a career because there just were not long-term gyms that could really offer those career opportunities. So we kind of had to create our own careers. So, but it's been a cool ride. Yeah,
I've had to hustle to make this kind of a full-time thing. And I think I've done just about every job that you can do within the industry, whether it be a coach, a judge, an event producer. I've built spring floors. I've done music. I've done choreography. I've done pretty much every single job in the industry.
Plunge toilets. We had a episode where we talked about all the horror stories of being a gym owner.
And I've lived through those things as well. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like I am a master plumber. I can definitely, I've definitely learned some plumbing in my 20 plus years of cheerleading. So, but yeah, same thing, man. I had to mix music and did a lot of choreography and things like that in the early days. Wouldn't say I did it well, but I did it, you know, just trying to feed a young family. So you had to do what you had to do. And there's certain things now that I'm blessed to be this far along, but man, I'm happy that I haven't moved too many spring floors lately. So I'm happy that I haven't had to do that. So
same. All right, Nelson. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. What was your favorite, or what is your favorite part of coaching?
My favorite part is definitely just interacting with these kids and teaching them more than just cheerleading. I read a book recently. I started working with an athlete who has a mental block. And in all my years, I think I've worked with a couple kids that had mental blocks, was never able to get them through it. So I worked with a kid a few years ago I had a mental block, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna actually do some research on this. And so I read a book by a guy named Jeff Benson. He and I actually used to cheer together back at cheergyms.com. Read his book, read another book that he recommended called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and learned so much about that. So it started to shift the way I coach and approached coaching. And I started approaching it more with a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So being able to teach that as well as being competitive, I enjoyed that part a lot.
It's awesome. I know Jeff well, and his book is great. I've read it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
okay,
Jeff's great. He's done a ton with our
what's
gym
your
as well.
favorite part of what was your favorite part of owning a gym?
Whew, that's a tough one. Because when I first went into it, I thought like this is the natural path, and this is where I should be going, right? Was to own a gym. And I thought for sure this is where I wanted to be. So I think my favorite part was being 100% in control of everything, and all the decisions of it being
Stacy throwing stuff around over there.
So that was initially my favorite part of it. But I realized after about a year that it wasn't the path I should have been on.
I totally understand. What was your least favorite part?
My least favorite part was, and this is where for me as a coach, it really hit me. I started looking at these kids as they were going to pay certain bills, right? So a kid would walk into the gym and my thought was, okay, they're going to pay my electric bill. This kid would walk into the gym and they're going to pay insurance. And I started looking kids that way, and I became a worse coach because of it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting that you say that. I've never even thought of it that way, but I mean, you can just go down a path that's not great, when you get into that mindset. But the reality is, man, those bills, they're there. You've got to pay them, and they're coming every month, and some of them are big and they get bigger. And that's a part that I found was really tough. I'm not sure that I was ever the greatest coach anyway, but it was very hard. It became very difficult for me to be on the floor and coach the kids and give them my all when I had some very big business things hanging over my head. Because in the early days, it was so tough. And I tell stories that are true that, sometimes lunch depended on how well the Coke machine did the night before. I mean, that's how tight it was. I remember the month of December, we used to just pins and needles whether we were going to make payroll. It was that close. And when you are worried about making payroll and you're out there trying to coach the kids at the same time, man, it puts you in a difficult spot to be able to help the kids. So really interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I agree. It's tough to be both of those people. And it's tough to be on an island as a gym owner as well, I feel like too, which is so great about, MotUS, because you have a network of other people that you can talk to and share ideas with, and people that understand that. Like, you can't necessarily, you can, I guess, but you're not that stress that you're talking about, that you experience, that every gym owner experiences. Good times, bad times, it doesn't matter. Like, you still have them. You don't necessarily want to unload that on your coaches, right? Because they need to believe that everything is great and fabulous and wonderful and all the things. And so where do you put that? And you have to share it somewhere. And so it's hard to be on an island sometimes, which is what I love so much about MotUS, because I feel like it gives all types of gym owners an opportunity and a space to be owners and kind of share those feelings and conversations and just get help. Like, hey, I am struggling with this. What is your advice, or what did you do? Because chances are somebody else already struggled with it. And if they haven't, they're going to.
I think for sure that was one of my biggest mistakes. Was I was a very stubborn person, and I always thought, okay, well, I'll handle this. I can take care of this. This is on me. I'll do this. And so I never had somebody or people to reach out to and just say, hey, this is what I'm going through right now. Has anybody gone through this before? What do you got for me?
Yeah.
Man, another super important statement. I didn't have MotUS in the early days. My closest version, I had Randy Dickey. He and we came out of the same gym. We were both starting our gyms around the same time, and we would literally talk until 2 and 3 in the morning. And oftentimes it was nothing but venting, but there was someone that I could share how I felt with. He did the same thing. And it was, we would laugh sometimes because you're like, gosh, man, I thought my day was bad, but yours was really worse. So, but we helped each other, having that person to be able to bounce something off of, or just, share your crappy day with is important.
I was super fortunate to be part of Premier really from the beginning. For some crazy reason, at the ripe old age of 22, I think they thought it was a good idea to open a gym with me in Clayton, North Carolina, and I'm grateful for that, because from the moment I began, I had help, and I had people that were that had done it and made all the mistakes. And of course, ironically, if I knew now what I knew then, or if I knew then what I know now, I don't know. But no, I'm just kidding. I am. I'm super grateful for that, and I've always been, not afraid to ask questions and ask for help and get advice. And I've always been willing to give it. I feel like too, because of that experience, with Premier, I saw the value of working, very closely with a lot of other people going through the same thing all the time, which is awesome. So I don't think that you, Nelson, or John have been to the MotUS Business Expo yet, but
we have not.
Yeah, we do the MotUS Business Expo in Nashville, Tennessee, September 28th and through the 30th this particular year. It's free for all of our MotUS members, so you have to get yourself there. But the conference doesn't cost you anything to be there. And what I love about it, and I think that most of the people who have attended love about it, is it's 2 days of just business development, leadership, growth. The Business Expo is designed specifically with the gym owners in mind, and the directors, the people running the business. So there's no coaching classes. There's no learn how to teach a basket toss. Like, all of those things are great, and there's a place for that. But this is specifically geared for owners, kind of like we were just talking about, for owners to have their own experiences and talk to each other about what they're going through and what their needs are. And it's pretty cool. So like I said, it's free for members. So for our listeners out there, join the movement today, and you can sign up for the Business Expo for free at joinmotus.com. That's www.joinmotus.com. As a member of MotUS, you also get great discounts from our affiliates and discounts from all of our event producer members that are part of the Prime Alliance, which is amazing. So if you attend any Prime Alliance events, you get an automatic discount from those. And what's really super cool about this particular Business Expo coming up in September in Nashville is that on Monday night, September 29th, we are celebrating the book launch of The Pioneers of All-Star Cheer, which is the history and evolution of All-Star, and it acknowledges all the pioneers who started our sport. And so we are actually launching that book on Monday night, and the only attendees that will be able to come are people who are at the conference and the pioneers, mainly because of space. But we will be live streaming for everyone at home on our MotUS Edge podcast YouTube page. So you guys can check that out there.
Yeah, you guys definitely need to check out the Business Expo. I love it. I've been to so many different conferences and different things like that, and they're all wonderful. But honestly, that's truly the best thing that I've ever been to. And I don't just say that because we put it on. It truly is a excellent tool for business owners, directors, people like yourself that are trying to grow the sport and enhance the sport. So, love to have you guys come out and join us this year.
Yeah,
I'm sold.
Pretty awesome. Well, Casey, it's about that time, and today we have a dad joke submission from Ty Garvin here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I'm going to turn it over
Sierra's
to you,
husband,
Casey.
right? Sierra, who was on one of our other podcasts. Her husband turned in a joke. So here we go. My favorite part of the podcast, our dad joke. Can you believe another kid had to go to the hospital after a game of hide and seek? Yep.
I can't believe it.
Went straight to the ICU. Ba-dum,
Oh, all right, Ty.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ty. Appreciate the joke. We're starting to get a lot more people submitting dad jokes. So that means that folks are into them. We thought it might be a little corny when we started, but clearly people are into them because we're getting more and more submissions. So keep them coming.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're getting guests that want to be on the show. We're getting dad joke submissions. We're getting gym owners that want to come on and talk about their business. All kinds of stuff. Questions that people want answered on our show. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Big time.
Yeah. So, okay, Nelson. So talk to us about. So you've been how long have you been coaching?
Oh, I hate to age myself, but over 25 years.
So you said something about 25 years earlier, and I was like, no way, he's old enough to have been doing that for 25 years. But apparently you are. You have good skincare like me.
Thank you. It's
not like Casey.
California
No,
weather.
I'm just kidding.
Not like me.
Okay, so coaching for 25 years. And as we know, we are about ready to get into team selection or all-star tryouts, whatever everybody calls it around the country, where we are selecting our upcoming teams for the upcoming season. And man, what a process that is, right? So
what an important process too.
Yes, it is an extremely important process, and it's a difficult process. And I remember, years and years and years of literally being up until, I don't know, sometimes I feel like it was 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And of course the parents want the answers like right away. So you're all night long going through every single kid. We had 400 plus all-stars at one point, and it didn't matter if they were tinies and they were 5 years old. Like, we went through every child, discussed every child. And obviously some things get put together, tinies is what it is, right? So you've got these men, you have 5 and 6 year olds, you're putting them on a team, et cetera. But, some people build their programs from the bottom up. Some people build their programs from the top down. We've done it all different ways. There's just, a million different ways to do it. And it's a struggle, and you want to do it right. And and it's important that you get it right for not only the kids' sake, but your teams. You want your teams to be successful. You want to make sure that you've got the right coaches with the right kids, all the things. And so obviously you acknowledge this pain point and created the CheerSync app. So I'm excited for you to talk about it with us today.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it came from the same place that you were talking about. I remember 2 years ago when we had our tryouts. In preparation for the tryouts, I think this was probably mid-February, early March is when we started planning for it. And I put together a paper form. And on the front was just going to be where the athletes filled in their basic information, first name, last name, date of birth. We were going to put what age groups they were eligible for, and they were going to attach a picture of themselves. And then on the back, we basically took the United Scoring documents. We picked a couple different skills from each level, and then we put it on this form on the back where ideally when the coaches were evaluating these kids, they were going to circle the skill that the athlete did, maybe write some notes about it, and then boom, that was it. And we thought, okay, we've got it We've got it now. This is definitely the year where we're going to get this absolutely correct. So we have 2 locations, and our tryouts go 2 days per location. So the last day at our last location, we finished probably about 9 o'clock at night. And, by this time we're all starving. We're kind of mentally done, but the athletes are still fresh in our minds. So we figured, let's lay out all these papers and let's try to form some teams. So we laid out papers across 2 of the gym floors. And this is where we were like, okay, this is not going to work, because we had athletes. I would pick up a form without a picture on the front going, I've never heard of this kid before in my life. No idea what they look like. Are they a base? Are they a flyer? Are they a back spot? You would look at the back where, their skills were supposed to be circled. And sometimes the coach would fill out a circle. Sometimes they would circle like the line in between, like they're playing roulette at Las Vegas. Sometimes they would write notes. Sometimes they would write notes and it's completely ineligible. Sometimes they would write notes and they would just write back handspring, or they would write bent legs, but just not having any context about these athletes at all. So I remember that very first night we finished, I don't want to say finished, we called it a night, probably about 1:32 in the morning, because we were just done with the whole process. We were angry at each other. And so Mandy, who's one of the owners, she grabs up all the papers.
I think every coach across the country that's ever participated, right? it never ends well. I feel like.
No, never. So Mandy picks up all the papers and she puts it into this file folder that she got from Office Max in like 1999. And so now she's got all the papers with her. And so there's no chance for us to do anything until we meet again. Right. So anyways, this whole process goes through 3 or 4 days until we finally release the teams. And then fast forward to last year, again, mid-February, and I'm sitting down in my office and I'm starting to think about tryouts. And the whole time I'm going, I do not want to do this. I don't want to be miserable like this again, selecting these teams. And so I thought, I've got to find a better way. And for whatever reason, this tagline on this old Apple commercial like popped in my head. And the tagline was, there's an app for that. And I remember thinking, okay, well, there's no app for cheerleading tryouts, but this is a cool idea. I'm going to put it in the back of my head for now and, revisit this another time. And then I want to say a day or two later, John, Mandy, and myself, we were in my office together, which is kind of rare for the three of us to be in the same location at the same time. And we're just kind of chatting casually, just kind of catching up each other. And we started talking tryouts, and I brought up the idea of a tryout app. And I remember John's face kind of lit up. And it turned out that his brother, he builds these types of things for a living. And so we got him on this right away. And I want to say within 2 to 3 weeks, he kind of had this working prototype for us. And so we went back and forth testing it, trying to figure out different solutions and things like that. And maybe late March, early April, we went live with the first version of CheerSync last year. So if you can imagine, everybody's they're in this kind of hustle of nationals and these end of season events and the banquet and then boom, tryouts. So having all of that on our plate and then trying to get CheerSync out was a huge, huge push, but we're so happy with being able to finally push through with it last year.
That's really
very
awesome.
Cool. Yeah, man. As you're talking about tryouts, that is just such a, I don't even know, the daunting time of year. It's so important that you get it right. You are literally about to set up the next 11 to 12 months in your gym. And a year is a long time. So when you do a great job of putting together a team, then that makes that year a lot easier. And when you mess it up from the very start, then that can make things really, really tough. And that's something that we say, it's really, the season begins right there as you start to lay out the tryout. So really important process.
Huge part
and I have accidentally put an athlete on the wrong, on a team that they shouldn't have been on with their age group and had to go back and fix that. That's awful, and I mean, it's just a horrible, people are human and mistakes happen. And luckily her family was super gracious and everything worked out. But I mean, just that's terrible, to tell the kid, I'm so sorry, but you can't be on this team.
We've done that. Oops. We've left kids out. We had
left kids out. I mean, and I would tell parents all the time, if you don't, everyone is contacted. I over and over and over and over and over again. I would say everyone is contacted. Everyone is reached out to. Everyone, if you're very few people, very seldom does someone not make a team. But if you've heard nothing from us, please reach out to us. There's been some sort of mistake, but you'd be surprised how many people they won't. They just, or they didn't hear that message or they didn't read that memo. And I've done that. I've done that before too, Casey. So I mean, it's horrible. You don't ever want any of that to happen. So my assumption is, Nelson, that there's parameters in place. So starting first off with age groups, assuming that if you try to put somebody on a team where they don't belong according to the age that they are, the app says, no, you can't do that. This kid doesn't belong there.
Yeah. The way it sets it up is we have 3 different age grids on there. I always have hard time saying these, USASF. We have the elite, novice, and prep age grids, the IASF age grids, and then the Open Championships age grids. And the way it works out is when you put in the athlete's information. So all it asks for is first name, last name, and then the date of birth. And then automatically it'll populate and show you what ages they're eligible for. So let's say I put Susie Spirit, her birth year is whatever, and it'll show she's eligible for junior, senior open. And it says that right there on her little profile.
Very cool. Very cool. So go ahead, Casey.
And just tell us a little bit about like when I was actually looking at the app a little last night, something I'm very interested in. But I saw that there's a video portion. Maybe explain a little bit to us about what you guys capture there and how you're able to look at it or the coaches are able to look at it.
Yeah, for me, this was the biggest part of the app because as a coach, I'm a very technical person. And when we were doing the old paper tryouts, my hope was that coaches would circle a skill and then write some detailed notes about it. But sometimes that's just not going to work out, either time constraints or just the coach themselves thinks, okay, well, everybody knows this person or what have you. So I wanted actual video evidence. So the way it works is when you're doing an actual trial, you've got that athlete in there, you click add a tryouts. And let's say you're doing standing tumbling, you can click standing tumbling, select the skill they're going to do, and then record it. And so now it's in that athlete's profile. So let's say I'm building a team and I'm looking at these different athletes. I can click on this athlete within the app, and then all of her skills are going to pop up. And click on the skill. Now I can watch the skill over and over and over and over again. And I can really detail like how this skill actually looks. And when it comes down to building the actual teams, having that video evidence of their skills is so crucial. Not just when you build the teams, but let's say you put an athlete on a team that their families don't actually agree with. And you need to have that meeting that, all of us owners and coaches have had to have with parents that aren't happy. You can now pull up that skill and pull up that video and show the families why that skill didn't put them on a certain team.
It's crazy. You're on the other side of the country than we are. And we're talking about like, it's running through my head, like the problems that you guys deal with are the exact problems that we deal with. We're blessed to have a lot of kids in our program, a lot of kids trying out. So with that, we've got to have a lot of people involved. And one thing that we found was not everybody had the same eye. Some people haven't been coaching as long, or they just, whatever, their forte may be dance, yet they're still called upon to judge back walkover. So we would have, certain coaches that, yeah, man, she's got a back walkover. It's great. And then another coach would look at it and be like, no, that's not great. We can't even use it in a routine. So it became, really important to us to start videoing kids. And a lot of what you described the app, we do. We just don't use an app. We don't have the ease of an app to do it. So, we're doing those things. We're videoing each and every kid. We're trying to give detailed descriptions. We're trying to make sure that we've got them in the right age groups. We even do a picture in front of a thing that shows their height, because I remember there were times before we would literally sit there with pictures of kids and like, they just bring a picture from home and we would try to judge how tall they were based off of a light switch or something like that. So trying to figure out.
Or that picture could have been 9 months old.
Correct. So, this sounds awesome. Like I said, it sounds like a lot of the things that we're doing within our program, but you guys have put it together in an app, which could make it far more efficient and more streamlined. So tell me a little bit about, is this usable for multiple coaches? Because in our gym, it's important to give each and every coach a say-so in their team. So how easy is it for multiple coaches to work through the app during tryout time?
Yeah, so super easy. Going back to what you were talking about with, what everybody's doing these kind of pieces where everybody's videoing and everything. The great thing about CheerSync is it's all one centralized system, right? And within CheerSync, for example, for OC All Stars, we can add all of our coaches within the OC All Stars subscription. And each coach, when it comes time to building the teams, they can build their own teams without affecting somebody else's roster, right? So last year for us, I think one of the pains in building teams sometimes is that if you have those coaches meetings, there are people that want to have a voice, and they want to have a voice for every single athlete. You could have an athlete that everybody knows is going to be level 2, and their back handspring is great. Maybe their feet are 0.27 centimeters apart. And then you're going to have one coach that's going to talk about why this athlete should not be on level 2, and then go on this rant about the conditioning within the gym and how the whole system needs to be worked and everything like that. So at OC, what we did last year is we said, after tryouts were done, we said, all right, you guys, within the app, create your teams. Go for it. So everybody was able to create their own teams on their own time without us all talking about it. And then ownership was able to take a look at all the teams, see where everybody kind of lined up, where there were discrepancies, and then they will go, okay, this person wants this kid on youth level 2, but this coach does not. Let's take a look at this athlete and see why. So it really saved us from having those super long meetings where everybody was sharing their opinions and then obviously getting mad at each other and so on and so forth.
Have you been to our tryouts? Sounds like you've been there. Yeah. So we've had to, in our gym, we typically pick from the top down. So we start with the world's teams and we pick those. And we've done that for multiple reasons, but oftentimes we find out that kids come to our gym with only 1 or 2, 3 teams in mind. And if they don't make that team, then they're not going to take a spot. So years ago, what was happening to us, we would choose our world's teams. And if someone wasn't quite on level, then they'd make the senior level 5 team, or maybe a 4 team, but typically, a senior level 5 team. And we would be really excited about our senior 5 team and then show up for that practice and be down 10 kids, literally the first practice, that wouldn't even show up. So, we had to figure out a way that wouldn't happen and kill those teams. So we'll have our world's tryouts, and then the kids that don't make it, they go back into the pile. So I guess my question is the app able to, can I finagle it? Can I move it around to fit our system or any system of tryouts? Another question would be, what if I have, because you talked about coaches picking certain levels, what if I have multiple teams at that level? If I've got a large junior 2 and a small junior 2, because that'll happen a lot in our program. Is the app able to work around those types of conflict?
Yeah, for sure. When you create the teams, the way that you create the teams is you select add new team, and then you can name that team whatever you want. So let's say you're going to name it large junior 2. With the roster itself, you can then filter your roster. So let's say I want to filter everybody that is junior age eligible, and then I want to filter everybody that's level 2. And then that list will populate with all of those athletes. So it's going to take everybody out that's not junior eligible and that's not level 2. And you drag and you drop them to that team, right? And then as you're doing that, it's going to show you, number 1, how many are on that team. And then number 2, whatever their stunt position is. So taking a step back a little bit, the coaches, when they're doing the evaluations, they can designate what stunt position that athlete's going to be. So you're filling out this team and you've got 12 bases, you've got 4 flyers, and you've got 3 back spots. And you're looking at the number going, okay, I need another back spot. So now you can go to the filter and click on just junior aged athletes and back spots. And now you've got the list populated with that. So maybe you're going to pull up a level 1 kid specifically to be a back spot, or you're going to pull down a level 3 kid specifically to be a back spot. So you kind of create the teams itself and then use the filters to make sure that you're adding athletes to that team that are eligible for that team.
That sounds awesome. I mean, you answered my question. I was going to ask about role players, and you just answered the question about role players of, hey, we're out of level 2 tumblers that can back spot, but I need someone that's 6 foot tall that may not have any tumbling. So
what about the reverse? So I'm trying to fill a level 5 team, and I have a girl that's a senior, senior level 5 team I'm trying to fill. And I have a girl that's a senior, and she's a level 2 tumbler, because I feel like the level is most of the time selected by the tumbling, but she's the best back spot in the gym. And so she would be a back spot on that level 5 team, but is there a way for her to pop up in the filter as a level 5 athlete because of her stunt capability, or is she going to not be filtered as a level 5 athlete because she's technically level 2 by her tumbling?
I think that would depend on how the coach evaluates it. So
Gotcha.
when you're evaluating the skills, you can, you're videoing the skills, and then the coaches can score the skills, but the coach can also designate the level, right? So let's say we have athletes in our gym that fall into that same category, right? I know we have a great back spot at our gym, and she's got level 3 tumbling, and she's on our level 5 team. So, but we knew right off the bat when we were evaluating that year that she was going to be a back spot on one of our higher levels. So in the app last year, we evaluated her tumbling, but we designated her as a level 5 athlete and as a level 5 back spot. So when we were selecting our level 5 teams and we were filtering using the level 5 filter, she still was able to pop up. And then we knew right away that we were going to add her to that team.
Gotcha. Man, it sounds like a
pretty
dream.
awesome. It really does. I get really scared to make changes. I say there's a team of people that do put together our tryout process that starts in January for us, and we're set for this year. But man, I'm really interested in this app, and it's something that would love to test. And I know that every year we do a big half-year program. Our half-year program is usually anywhere from 200 to 250 kids. So this would be an ideal, in the fall for us next year, something ideal to test at that time. So could you tell us about, how we go about getting your app, and maybe where you find it, or what it costs, or how do you get it?
Yeah, definitely. So it's interesting that you're talking about, trying it out. We have a free trial. It's a 7-day free trial. And the way you go and set that up is you go to our website, which is CheerSync And right on that front page, you just click on Get Started, sign up with your email. And then all you're doing is adding in a little bit of information. And then boom, you've got 7 days to try it out for free. And it gives you up to 5 athletes. And it's a great opportunity just to check it out and see if it works out for your gym. From there, if you're ready to purchase, we have 3 different levels of our subscription. The first is $3.99 a year, and that is up to 100 athletes, and I want to say up to 3 videos per athlete. The next tier after that is up to 149 athletes, and that's $4.99 for the year. And then the final version is $5.99, and that's unlimited. So you get unlimited athletes, you get unlimited video skills, you get it all.
Very cool. And
Excellent.
then CheerSync app, spell that for us just so that people can find it for sure.
For sure. It is CheerSyncapp.com.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Sounds like an incredible app. I really want to try the free trial. And like I said, we're in the thick of it right now, just like everybody is. We're about to go Worlds and Summit and a couple other end of season events. And then, man, we walk right back in the gym and do a banquet and start up with our tryouts. But man, wouldn't it be nice to know that I had an app sitting right there waiting on me to can walk us right through.
I have one more question before Casey jumps into our CheerFest commercial. But I have one more question really quick. So I know that most programs have some form of online sign up, or maybe it's a paper sign up for their athletes in their gyms, right? To sign up for team selection. Is there any functionality with the app where they can when they sign up, it goes like it syncs up with the app, or that you can take an Excel file of athletes and their information and import it into the system all in one shot?
Well, It's one of our wish lists is to create like something where I don't know the technical side of all this, but where you can sync it with like iClass Pro or Jackrabbit.
Okay.
But the simplest way, there's two ways I can see that you can do this. The first is you copy that information into a Google Doc, and then you can import that information through CheerSync. The second way, and this is the way OC All Stars is going to do it. We have our signups when they come into the gym to do their actual tryout on the very first day. They're going to go through a process where they go through the front desk. The front desk checks them in, and then they're going to take a picture of them. We have a height chart as well, like Casey talked about. They're going to take a picture of them in front of that height chart in CheerSync, put in their first name, last name, and then the date of birth, and then boom, they're in CheerSync right away. So, and then from there, they'll get sent into the gym to start the actual
Gotcha. So it's a pretty simple process to get them like set up in there.
Very simple. We have
Which the height chart thing, just for anybody listening out there, I learned about that from Stingrays this year actually, and it's a great idea. So the height chart with the picture is a really great idea for just knowing, how tall the athletes are. I think that's something new that I learned, and I think it's awesome. So everyone should do it.
You'd be amazed at how many different versions of height there are. Hey, she's 5'10". Really?
Having the picture in the app itself, I can't tell you how many times 2 years ago when we were going through these tryout paper forms and not having pictures of these athletes and not knowing who they are. But now being able to see their picture in front of a height chart within CheerSync is huge for us.
Yeah, Nelson, our coaches try to literally the way you described it in picking their teams, like they try to pick the stunt groups. So, a back and two bases and a flyer. So it's much like you described. It's papers laid out all over the gym, and they're putting them in stunt groups. So, but to your point, 10 years ago, we would do that, and the stunt group would come in, and the flyer might be 5 inches taller than every single base because exactly that. We didn't know them. We didn't have a picture. We didn't have a height chart. So all important stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. I think it's time for me to talk about CheerFest, right, Stace?
Yeah.
Okay. We would love for you guys to attend the premier residential summer camp for cheerleaders of all ages and levels. CheerFest has top professional instructors from across the country. Campers age 7 to 17 will learn from and train with the best at CheerFest. Athletes are broken into groups so they will receive the highest quality of instruction in jumps, tumbling, flexibility, dance, and conditioning while enjoying the ultimate camp experience. So please join us at CheerFest for 6 fun-filled days of cheerleading and activities while making lifelong friends and memories. Register at cheerfest.com. That's CheerFest.com. Man, I did pretty good on my spelling today.
Yeah, we are good. We're knocking it out of the park. Nelson, sometimes we misspell our own websites.
Hey, I've done that in the past before, so completely relate to that.
It happens. It happens.
All right. Well, it is time for our inspirational quote of the day from Simon Sinek. We all know my obsession with Simon. So today's quote, Nelson, I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to talk about it. We're going to unpack it a little bit. So to be innovative, we can't look to what others have done. The whole idea of blazing a path is that there was no path there before. So I feel like
that's pretty fitting for.
I feel like your app is pretty cool and creative. So I selected that. I feel like you guys had a problem. You recognized the problem and you created a solution.
I love that. When I came back to OC All Stars, I think one of my values as an employee, as a coach, is that I was a former owner. So I understand everything that the owners have to go through. And so when I came back, the first thing I said to myself is, hey, you're going to have disagreements with these owners. So your choice is you can leave and start your own gym, which I did not want to do again, or you can find solutions to these problems. So anytime I have a disagreement with John or Mandy and there's a problem, the first thing I say to myself is, all right, here's a problem, go find a solution. So I love the innovation part of it and just trying to be creative with it.
Very cool.
Yeah, awesome. And I agree. I mean, I think, you can't be an inventor of something and blaze a trail, unless you're willing to be bold and envision something new that doesn't exist, which I think is pretty cool. So, yeah. Good
Well,
stuff.
best of luck to you guys
so
at
much.
end of
Sorry, go ahead,
season
Casey.
and all that. Hopefully I'll see you in Disney World jail or run into you. So if you see me, come tap me on the back or give me a high five. Hope to see you guys, and best of luck wrapping up your season. So.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for hopping on today, Nelson. It was great to chat with you. And for our listeners out there, be sure to follow us on YouTube at the MotUS Edge and Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, give us a follow. Give us a like or a shout out on social media. And if you like what you're doing and if you like what we're doing, because we love what you're doing, if you like what we're doing and you want to hear more, let us know. And hey, if you're a gym, join the movement today and sign up for MotUS. Thank you guys for listening. And we're so excited for you to have the MotUS Edge.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.